Friends, good morning. Good morning, and I hope you're doing well. It is day 470. That sounds like the um, it sounds like the sound's working fine, and we're going to get started on some mobility this morning, right after I set up the timer. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old. I wanted to say I am 30 years old, but that would be a lie. I am 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. And we do so by minding our sleep, minding what we eat, and generally working out, spending time with people I love and care about, generally living a stress-free life, and doing things that I enjoy. Every morning I do a workout, or I'm here for 30 minutes talking about health and fitness because I am limited in the workout I can do because of a back injury. But on the days I do mobility, we do mobility, and other days I just stand in my kitchen and chat. Today we're going to get the best of both worlds, which is going to be fun. Let's see, I'm going to hit the timer and we're going to get started. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. And life can throw a lot at us over the course of a month, a year, a decade, or a lifetime. And I've always found that being physically fit and healthy helps actually deal with whatever stress life throws at me. But I've also had my ups and downs and my worries and insecurities about being fit and healthy. So I think it's important to understand what my goals are here. And my goals are relatively straightforward. I have one daily goal of showing up for at least 30 minutes and doing some sort of exercise. Alright? It doesn't matter really what that is as soon as my back is completely back and capable. We're going to lean more into actually doing more strength training, strength conditioning training with the kettlebells again. You see there's one decorative kettlebell standing there, but it's not actually going to be used because I should not be lifting up loads for the foreseeable future, but that as a bit of an aside on where we stand on the recovery journey, which is going really well. But my main goal is for 30 minutes to show up and to do something of moderate to high intensity. And I think we forget or underestimate the impact of being consistent daily in terms of showing up and doing some sort of exercise. So I will do usually strength and mobility, strength conditioning, or conditioning. I will go out for runs. I will do a HIIT session to get that heart rate up and to challenge my body to deliver output at different levels a couple of times a week. And the reason for that is that my general health and fitness, I think, depends on my ability and capability to show up in various modalities of exercise and intensity, and to actually practice and challenge myself across a range of activities. So that's 30 minutes a day, right? That's one of the goals. That's why I'm showing up 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I'm just going to wait for 30 seconds to run out. There are two bigger goals that inform that daily consistency. That is, on the one hand, being a father of 2 children, I would like to be an active part of their life. I would like to have the physical ability, the stamina, strength, flexibility, and mobility to spend time with them, to help them, to play with them, to chase them around, or to have them chase me around these huge indoor playgrounds or other places where we can play and lose some energy throughout the day. So there are good reasons for me to want to stay fit and healthy. It's my son's way as much as 2 medium to heavy kettlebells. And it's easy to forget how often we lift them up or don't lift them up because we actually don't have the physical strength, stamina, or endurance, even capacity to do so. The other goal is that I am 41, and I believe life expectancy now is somewhere around 86. It's probably only going to increase over time. I think we need to remember, realize, and understand that it is not a given that we are going to grow old healthy. Justin, hey, thanks, Justin. Yeah, that's right. Well, if I am serving training class corner, have a good night. You have a good night, sleep well, and have fun at your circuit training class when you wake up in the morning. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. And stay well. And stay tuned for streams from different, more exotic locations in the near future. So listen, life expectancy is set to increase slowly but surely. But we're still going to have to be around for maybe 45 years, right? That is as long as I've been around on the world, and then a bit. And I have a choice to make. Well, how do we want to spend those years? Do we want to spend those years fit and able and capable? Or do we want to spend those years dealing with discomfort and diseases that, by and large, have been preventable had we chosen a different set of activities earlier on in life? Now, the good news is, whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even in your 80s, you can make significant changes that will impact your health outcomes, change in reverse. But the sooner you start, the better it's going to be in terms of how healthy, fit, and capable you are going to remain in life and throughout your life. So just keep that in mind when you think about general fitness, health, longevity, and longevity not in the sense of, ooh, I'm going to live forever, and ooh, I'm going to stay young forever. Because I think the general consensus is that we will all perish one day, and we will all grow older as chronological time from our date of birth passes. But besides our genetic profile, that determines relatively much about our health and the lifespan we can expect. Lifestyle factors, and specifically living in a way that is conducive to staying fit and healthy, is going to help. Simply not just being alive, but being functional. So, when I say this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look, I am looking to feel fit and capable and competent and able, and to trust that my body is doing a whole bunch of things that I would like it to be doing to keep myself fit and capable and able and alive for as long as I can. So those are the two primary goals that inform the fact that I show up every day for 30 minutes with you here on the stream, so that we can have a conversation about what's going on with health and fitness. And the health and fitness in that sense is also relatively straightforward and relatively simple. So you can keep in mind and a relatively simple list of things to be mindful of on your health and fitness journey, as you're maybe starting out or have been on one, or maybe were on one, stopped for a while, and now getting back into it. I've been in all of those places, but the basics seem to always remain the same. We need to think about the quality and quantity of our sleep. We need to think about the quantity and quality of our nutrition. And I flipped those for sleep and nutrition on purpose. We need to think about the amount of movement we get in a week and in a day. And we need to consider how much of that movement needs to be exercise, how much of that movement just needs to be activity, given the scope of activity present in our daily lives. What I mean by that is that if you have an occupation that has you seated, tapping away at a keyboard, most of the day you have a slightly larger challenge than, let's say, a teacher or a nurse, or even that light construction worker, who are maybe on their feet, moving around, running around, carrying things, lifting loads continuously throughout the day. So when we talk about activity, it's not just about hitting the gym 3 times a week, but it's also about understanding the activity levels that we need in life. And then from there, we can look at our relationships, because not only for long-term health, for general sanity and well-being, relationships with other people, our family and our friends, are important, and they're actually as much key as sleeping well and eating well and moving frequently and in varied ways, right? When I talk about different modalities of training, strength conditioning, HIIT, endurance, what we're talking about is making sure we move and challenge our bodies in different ways, because life will challenge us in different ways. And that is what we were made for. And relationships, people we can reflect with, share joy with, share grief with, share successes with, share failures with. Those are all an essential part of generally keeping us healthy and fit for life. The warrior, yes. Well, thanks for dropping by, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. And I hope life is treating you well. We're having a conversation about health and fitness, and like I said in the intro, in the text, please be kind and respectful in the chat, and I appreciate the joke you're trying to make. So thanks for dropping by. So it's relationships, and then there's also the communities that we're a part of, and that's an easy one to forget, because we might think, well, family, friends, it's enough to invest in. But we also have this thing called a neighborhood that we live in, right? And things happen in the neighborhood. I am very much a believer in the fact that if the neighborhood is safe and connected and in conversation, that it is also going to be a more pleasant place to live. And there's going to be a different spirit and a different vibe there. Another community, since I have children, is the school that they attend. And specifically in there, there's a classroom. There are parents connected to all of those children, I should hope. And there are a lot of different ideas, opinions, and worldviews and outlooks that our child is confronted with. And I think that it is important to be a part of a conversation in that group and to be connected with the parents. And to have a chat and a talk once in a while to understand what's going on, what's on everyone's mind, what are things that we want to maybe have a broader conversation about. YouTube Punk, good to see you, buddy. How's it going? Hope you're doing all right. I hope Texas is treating you well. It's good to know that you were watching, got my back. So being a part of that community is important. There is the community of my colleagues, right? People that I work with and spend 30 to 40 hours a week with. We tend to forget, and remember, colleagues are not necessarily friends, not advocating for that, but there is a community there, and whenever we participate in a community, I think one of the things that makes us humans is our ability to collaborate and work together, and to actually, in working together, do cool things, right? And a good culture and a good atmosphere usually makes that we enjoy being in those spaces together. So there's something else to think about and consider. Let's see. So we've talked about sleep, talked about nutrition, talked about movement, talked about relationships, talked about community, right? Those are all pillars of what I would say staying healthy, fit for a long time in life. And I think that's just something we need to keep in mind, be aware of when we think about health and fitness. And I've talked about this before, but I think it's good to keep repeating it. It is never about making big changes. Busy, tech's warming up, summer's around the corner. Some remote work, oh great, and it's good to have you while you're doing some remote work. Claus 22, greetings from California. Claus, welcome back. Thanks for dropping by again. And I hope that you've been well and that you continue to do well where you're at in the world. We're just wrapping up mobility, and we are going to make some coffee. And after the coffee, I'm going to go out for a little walk at dawn. It's going to be close to 6. It's going to be nice outside. And it is also getting pleasantly warm. It went from 0 to 3 degrees, I think 5 to 9 degrees here now every morning. And then from there, we're going to get started on the day and the packing for the holidays after the kids have gone to daycare and their daily activities, because we have a big trip coming up. So we've got enough to do and look into and to organize for that, which is going to be nice family time. And something worth investing in. That is definitely showing some tightness in that leg. All right, that was 24 minutes. I'm gonna twist the camera. We're gonna make some coffee. So do not mind the bobbing of the camera too much for a few moments. Do I play any sports? At the moment, not. I am looking to get back into martial arts, but between work, family, and other commitments and responsibilities, there we go. I hope that that is somewhat a clear picture. Yeah. We're not crooked, are we? Are we crooked? No, don't think so. All right, well, we will see. When you get there, you can see that the food basket is gone, is emptied out. Let's see. So, given all those commitments, I actually do not necessarily have time to do any kind of sports, but I would like to get back into either judo or start learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as an addition to judo, also to have that sense of community and team in sports. So that's something I am definitely looking into. And I see someone spilt the olive oil, which is now going to require cleaning. Which is going to be a big mess here in the kitchen. Oh boy. All right, well, I will deal with that later. That is not something that is directly urgent, but it is not very handy either. So what did you do this morning for your morning routine? Well, I was making coffee, and then we found an oil spill in the kitchen, and we need to deal with that. Yeah, no, and it's a good question to ask. Yeah, capoeira, I wish I was that flexible and had that amount of rhythm. That'd be something else. No, hey, but let's pivot the chat a little bit for those of you who are watching. Like, we talk a lot about health and fitness, but I think one of the questions, and maybe especially for young men, because I am a man, and I don't have, per se, a lot of insight on what it is like to be, I don't have any insight on what it's like to be a woman in this world, but about being a man, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, right? I think one of the questions that we might find ourselves asking ourselves is, hey, am I normal when I look at myself in the mirror? compared to all of those dudes that I see on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Um, you know, where do I land? Where do I stand? Um, what's going on? There, you can see I am actually. So this is one of the struggles in life, right? Where I start one thing and then I start doing something else in the middle. This has bothered me my entire life. And I've spent so much time trying to train myself to start one thing and finish one thing before moving on to the next. So here you have a good example of where that is and is not working out well. But now that the coffee is on the stove, I can just quickly wipe up some of that oil and at least clear out a little bit of that mess. So, am I normal, right? That was one of the things that was top of mind because there is just a lot going on in the world. Um, if you look at all of the media that you're exposed to, and especially since this is a channel about health and fitness, you know, if you start to look into the health and fitness content that is out there, first of all, I wonder if that is really health and fitness content sometimes. And second of all, there's just a lot out there that is not necessarily, how shall I put it? That is not necessarily reflecting, I think, in my experience, but what do I know? I'm 40 years old, and I haven't seen that much of the world, or maybe I have. But in my experience, it doesn't really reflect what health and fitness is or should be about. And I think that's an important one to keep in mind. Klaus, have a good day. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi. And I hope that you're well and that you have a good night's sleep and a good day when you start it tomorrow. All right? Be well, and I appreciate you you dropping by and spending some time with me. So, like when I say am I normal, I'm referring to what we see when we look in the mirror. And I think at a young age, right, and even through my 20s, there was quite a bit of insecurity and uncertainty about my self-image and about my health and fitness and what other people thought of that. Plants and Coffee, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Midnight, North Carolina. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hello, and I hope that you're doing well where you're at in the world. And if you're going to go to sleep, have a good night and a good night's sleep, all right? Be well for the night. So, I remember that there were magazines, like Men's Health, and Muscle and Fitness was a thing even at a time. And you would see these images, and then you would put the magazine away and you would go about life and you'd see normal people, and even on TV, it wasn't saturated with images of people without their clothes showing off how big and muscular they were. Nowadays, right, and this has changed over time, and I saw the rise of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok right through the 2000s into what it has become today. And like someone reminded me, like, do you remember when your feed would stop, when you would be able to reach the end of the feed? I was thinking, like, oh my God, it's been such a long time that, infinite scroll wasn't a thing, right? But just this non-stop, it doesn't really matter if it's YouTube Shorts or YouTube long form videos, or other platforms where we can see a lot of content about men, fit men, muscular men, men who work out. Um, you must not, but you have the option because we have the option. We do, scroll, right? And I think there's a challenge for us there on how to manage that. Um, but I see so I see the challenge there that has changed significantly. Also, the type of information, right? What is expected from you as a boy and a man? What do we think constitutes you or I actually doing well and um, living up to the societal expectations of what it is to be a boy and a man, a father and a husband. And there's a huge conversation about that online. I'll say this about that. Don't worry too much if you're a boy or a man listening, right? Um, don't worry too much about the way you look. Don't worry too much about what other people think or expect from you, especially when it comes to health and fitness and living long and living well. It's not about the way we look. I keep saying this every morning. It's about the way we feel. And I think it is very important to cut through the clutter and to not even, you know, believe everything that we read and see and hear out there, but rather focus on, am I getting sufficient sleep? Am I eating the right things in the right proportions? Am I moving and exercising regularly? Do I have a group of friends that I can count on and rely on and connect with? Am I a part of communities where I can contribute, where my skills and abilities are valued? And am I, in that sense, able to provide in my life through work or other means a sense of financial security for myself and the people who maybe depend on me? Um, and it doesn't mean we need to be rich and buy Lamborghinis. It just means we need to have a safe place to live and put food on the table and clothes on our back, right? Then we can figure everything else out together. Um, doesn't mean we need to sleep 9 hours. Try to get 7 to 9 hours of good sleep. Last night I got 7. Doesn't mean we need to have all the food in the world. We just need to have enough good food, that's going to keep us healthy and strong and feeling well throughout the day. Doesn't mean we need to have an expensive gym subscription or six-pack abs or huge traps and chest muscles or quads, or that we need to deadlift 200-300 pounds. It just means that we need to stay active and keep busy, regardless of the way we look, because that's going to keep our body healthy and fit. So, am I normal? I'm going to put out a short on that in the near future, because I want us to understand that the genetically gifted who are able to create bodies that are aesthetically pleasing to look at, who maybe have turned health and fitness into their job and career, so have a lot of time to spend on this, are not necessarily a reflection of what health and fitness actually looks like day to day, and are not necessarily role models that we should want to emulate or look up to. So the answer for me when I look at myself is, am I normal? I'd say Yeah, because I know the time and effort that I have to put into this, that I do put into this, into minding my sleep, minding what I eat. Yesterday I lost a um, contest of willpower with a um, chocolate Easter chicken that was placed strategically in the office right next to the coffee machine. YouTube Punk, you probably know where this one goes. A lot of chocolate was suddenly consumed while I was waiting for my coffee to brew, and then I moved on to the day and I didn't touch junk afterwards or since. But I had some chocolate. Oh boy, what's going to happen now? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing terrible is going to happen given the balance of my life over a week and a month in terms of nutrition. I show up to do some exercise, and even despite not being able to lift weights, I managed to lose some soft tissue and a little bit of lean mass, but still feel pretty good about myself. I'm going to go for an hour walk now. This is what normal looks like to me. All right. So is it going to be six pack? No, I don't think so. I don't want one. Don't need it. Do I feel fit, capable, and competent for life? Yes, I do. So let's try and redefine for ourselves what healthy and fit and normal is, so that we can honestly, start to look at where we are on our health and fitness journey, and in that space try to start to make different decisions, not to live up to some sort of an ideal that might seem unattainable, maybe is unattainable for most of us, but simply work on ourselves and try to make ourselves healthier and fitter for a long and active and self-sufficient life. I think that's all I want to say about that. And I think it's been a nice conversation. Isaac Guerrero, thanks for dropping by again. I hope that you're doing well where you're at in the world, and I appreciate you stopping by for the conversation this morning. For those of you who are watching and don't know, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, try to get between 7 hours. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, 2200 calories. Try to eat a lot of greens. I try to stay at a certain protein level to maintain my strength and muscle building goals. And I've readjusted that protein level now down to 80 grams, which is a bit less than 1 gram per kilogram of body weight um, per day, because I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I do so by showing up for strength training, strength conditioning training, HIIT training, endurance training. Right now I'm going to go out for a walk, which is low intensity, steady state cardio, endurance. So work at a brisk pace, so that's a zone 2 training, which is all I can do because I'm recovering from a back injury. Mobility, and I try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life to hit those goals. We talk about health, fitness, kettlebells on this channel. If that's something you're interested in, you go ahead and subscribe, and we can continue this conversation. Klaus, YouTube Punk, Plants and Coffee, Isaac, Justin, thanks for dropping by and saying hi. I hope that you're all well. I hope that you all have a good night and a good night's sleep where you are in the world. And remember, friends, that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And the only way we're going to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. And remember, friends, subscribe.